Okay, page 2 of the 3.3 application problems. I believe there's still 2 set. I haven't quite got the 3 set yet. Alright, so I have a company that has 2 types of bikes, not motorcycles. There's a Model A and a Model B. Alright, Model A requires 2 hours of assembly time. Model B requires 3 hours of assembly time. Parts for Model A cost $25 per bike. Parts for Model B cost $30 per bike. The company has a total of 34 hours for assembly and $365 available for parts. The company would like to use up all of the hours and all of the money. How many Model B bikes should they produce? So I want to know the B bikes, but I'm going to find both. All right, so I'm just going to let capital A be the Model A bikes, and B be the Model B bikes produced. Alright, so what we know is time, right? Time and dollars. And so we have a total time, so time equation first. The company has 34 hours. There's so many hours for A bike and so many hours for the B bike. So A requires 2 hours, so 2 times each of my A bikes. B requires 3 hours, so 3 times each of. So all of my bikes together, 2 hours for each A plus 3 hours for each B, and so that's my first equation. 34 hours total. And then the cost equation. Right, the cost, they have $365 to spend. A bikes cost $25 each, so 25 times A. B bikes cost $30. 30 times B, right? So if I make A bikes, it's 25 times each of them. If I make B bikes, it's 30 times each of them. I have this amount to spend. That can be my cost. And so there's my system, right? Once I've got my system, then it's just go, right? Plug them into my calculator and go, which is why we like matrices, because again, once I've got my system of equations set up, the calculator does all of the algebra for me. I don't have to do any algebra. I just have to make sure I carefully type it in, make sure I had set. The hard part's the setup. Once I've got it set up, the solving's easy. It's just carefully plug it in your calculator. Alright, so A is the first one, B is the second one, and we only want B. We found both, but they need to make 8 B models. Right, and 5 A models, but they didn't ask me for that. They only asked me for the B models. And the next question on this page, we're going to do by page, kind of just easier. So the second question on page 2. Okay, so we have a theater. They charge $10 for floor seats, $5 for balcony seats. If they sell all of the seats, they make $20,000. All the floor seats, all the balcony seats sell. So sell out, they get $20,000 for their ticket sales. At one show, 25% of the floor seats sold, 40% of the balcony seats sold, and the ticket income was $5,600. A significant amount weren't sold. And how many floor seats and how many balcony seats are there? Alright, so this time we want both. So I'm just going to do X and Y. So X is the floor seats, and Y is going to be the balcony. Alright, so first a sellout, which means we would sell all of the floor seats for $10 a pop, all of the balcony seats for $5 a pop. When we do that, they make $20,000. Alright, so the first equation is 10 times X plus 5 times Y. So a sellout gives me $20,000. It's the second equation that's a little tougher because you have to remember what percents are. This is if we sell all of the seats, right? We sell all the seats. Well, in the second equation, I'm only making $5,600. Each seat is still worth, in the floor, still worth $10 a piece, and each seat in the balcony is still worth $5. But the difference is in the second equation, so I still have the 10x, but instead of selling them all out, I'm only selling 25%. So this would be selling all of them, right? The 10x is all of them. Well, I only want to sell 25%. Well, how do I figure out 25% of all of them? Well, you take your number and right? If I had just the 10, 25% of 10 would be 10 times 0.025. Or 0.25, not 0.25, 0.25. And come to 2.5. Well, you do the same thing there. You multiply that times your percent as a decimal. And that would be, when you you sell 25%. And then you do the same thing for the floor seats. You're going to sell 40%. Well, selling them all would be 5 times Y. But I'm not going to sell them all. I'm only going to sell 40%. And so I'm going to take the sales from all of them and multiply it by 40% because that's all that I made. So multiply it by 40%, 0.4. And then we have to simplify that. So I've got this equation is already good. I can keep that one. That's a sellout. This one I simplify. So I'm going to take my 0.25 times my 10 to get 2.5x. And then my 0.4 times my 5. Oops. 0.4. Sorry about that. I hit my mic. 0.4 times, 0.2 times 5. Or not 0.2, 0.4 times 5. Comes out 2. So 2y. And there's my second equation. Right, and that one was a tougher one. You had to remember what it meant to. So this was a sellout. 100% of them sell up here. This was 25% of the floor seats. This was 25% or 40% of the balcony seats. Once I've got that, that's the hard part. Now I'm ready to go to the calculator. All right, so my calculator is 10, 5, 20,000 across the top. Make sure you're careful with the 20,000. If I were going to make a mistake, it'd be missing one of those zeros. 2.5 to 5,600. Row reduce. 1,600, 800. So X is 1,600, Y is 800. And they asked for both of them. So remember, the X value is the floor seats, so they have 1,600 floor seats and 800 balcony. Right, and that's the answer. That finishes up page 2. So, like I said, I'm going to go by 2 pages. And so we'll stop there and pick it up on the next one. I believe we'll start doing 3 variables in the next page of notes.